So the good news is we got PSG in the Champions League, probably one of the strongest prospects that I've seen in the Champions League as a PSG team goes of recent years. But also a side who did not finish in the top 8 in the Champions League, played a lot of extra games, but then also played Brest. Now, the 10-0 aggregate scoreline that went against everything that is fairy tale in football is exactly the kind of thing that, as a club, not necessarily the ownership, but as a club and as a fan base, we stand against. Putting a team like Brest down 10-0 on aggregate, it feels mean. And I feel like sometimes Liverpool as a football club are the kind of club that find the bully and go, time to thumb his eye. And that is what I want to do to PSG. Historically, Liverpool PSG is a very good, very entertaining tie. And boy, am I worried about facing some of that electric striking talent against this back line. But do I also feel that Liverpool as a team in the Champions League this season are capable? Yes. PSG's explosive displays, though, and some of the ways that they have absolutely dunked, excuse the Jordan reference, on opposition teams does slightly worry me. PSG at this point could be listed as one of the favourites for the competition this season. Their youthful exuberance, their talent, their eye for goal is something that does concern me. But at the same time, this is a great opportunity for Liverpool to step up against a PSG side who also clearly have some of their own deficiencies. Some of their own performances this season when they've played sides who are a lot more technically proficient, who are much better at shutting down games, who are much better at controlling aspects of the pitch that Brest certainly weren't, boy me. All of that to say, what a draw in the Champions League. Like, if I go into this Champions League draw, right, and if we go into any of the information, Liverpool's route to the final now looks like this. Oh my God. Liverpool versus PSG. Liverpool versus PSG. Versus either Club Brugge, or Aston Villa. Then go into a semi-final against either PSV, Arsenal, Real Madrid, or Atleti. On the other side of the draw, this is really impressive. Feyenoord versus Inter, so Inter go through there. Leverkusen versus Munich, boy is that one tasty. Dortmund versus Lille, boy is that one tasty. Benfica versus Barcelona, that's also extremely tasty. Arguably, there isn't really an easy side to this draw, and the Brugge-Aston Villa thing is also not easy. Over 2 legs, etc., etc., etc. That's going to be a real challenge. They have to come through against PSG first, though, and PSG probably, if not the side that were most bombastic in that knockout round was PSG. But they're also facing probably the least, should we say, form or least impressive side in there. That makes sense to me. Now, the history in Paris is certainly one that I wasn't there for it. I think I was sitting in a studio at the time, but it sounded horrific. And I wouldn't blame a lot of Liverpool fans if they didn't want to go back to Paris following the treatment that they received in Paris from Paris police, but also from a lot of the officials around UEFA. It was pretty disgusting, to be honest. Not even pretty disgusting, it was incredibly disgusting. And as a fan base, I think we still should be shouting about that, because I wouldn't want our own fan base or any other fan base to go through that. So yeah, there is kind of in many senses, a score to be settled with the idea of what was going on in Paris there, right? So I don't blame them. Will that hinder our travelling fans? Most probably not. There's nothing else to say about that. It was just disgusting from those guys. Anyway, let's look at now Liverpool's fixture and how that works. The match will be played in early March. Let me see if I can bring it up. First of all, we play away from home against PSG on the 4th of March, leaving that to be almost exactly, no, less than 2 weeks away when we play PSG. How many games? A week after we play Newcastle. So, a fairly healthy gap between those two. 4 days after that, we play Southampton, and then 3 days after that, we play PSG at Anfield. Both those games are at home, the Southampton game, the Anfield game, and that. Then we play Newcastle again 5 days after. So that's a little bit different in that League Cup final. I think we've just extended that tricky run, boys. But there is that recovery week and those kind of things. How we play PSG is something I'm going to address in the coming weeks. I'm obviously not going to address it today. I think as a side that can control things, or a side that have that control, we're very good at that. But the midfield is where we're going to win and lose this. All right? I know they've got an incredible front line, but the midfield is where we're going to win and lose this. The concern for me is if Conor Bradley is out for the long term, that leaves Trent up against whoever it is. I think now what we're going to see at this point in the season is the utilisation of players like Endo, obviously players like Quansah, as Joe Gomez seems to be out for the rest of the season. And we're going to see more and more and more the utilisation of the wider squad. Do I think we'll start Harvey Elliott against PSG? No. But do I think we'll start Harvey Elliott against Southampton? Do I think Harvey might get a shout against Newcastle? Do I think there are multiple different places where we'll see the quality and the depth of this team explored? Certainly. Do I hope that Federico Chiesa comes good for us this season? Yes. Do I expect it? No. I think there is still a lot of quality in this side though, and I think we have to acknowledge the level of quality that Liverpool have and how we will have to dip into that in the coming weeks. Not necessarily against PSG, but in the games around that. And the rotation that we will need to do is key. It's partially, by the way, what we did against Villa. We started Curtis Jones, whereas we didn't really start like a left-wing option out there, and we brought on someone later on in order to change those things up. It's a huge part of how we control games. It's a huge part of how we put the opposition off balance and then move into what it is that we're looking to do. And it worked against Villa. If Darwin scores those goals, we are broadly praising Darwin and the boys for getting out there, enacting a game plan and it working. Is my reading of that game. Because if Darwin scores one of those, maybe Villa come back into it, who knows? But I think it opens up the game a little bit more because the Villa have to do that. We can go over the top. The point being, right, PSG in the Champions League is an incredibly Champions League-y, tasty tie. Yes, it would have been lovely to draw someone like Club Bruges. Yes, it would have been great to have whoever. But Bruges are a very strong side. We've got the history with Bruges. Yes, it would have been great to have any one of these sides that are perceived to be weaker. But you're going to have to go through some of the bigger teams to get to that Champions League final. And frankly, I'd rather have a big side than a side like Brugge, Club Brugge, Bruges, who get underestimated and then give us a really difficult game, than a team like PSG, who we go into almost overrating, and then we give a really difficult game to. As a team, we're very historically good at telling ourselves the story that we are the underdogs punching up. And believe me, in any one of these scenarios, we are the underdog punching up. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think the result is against Bruges? How do you think it is that we end up playing them? How do we rotate in the coming weeks? Because I think that's going to be really, really key. And which one of these games does Darwin Nunez start? It's going to be fascinating. See you guys. Let me just check. Yeah. See you guys in the comments below. And I'll chat to you in a while. Much love. Bye.